I think one of the trends that in government today that really is important for how to shape the future is around how customers and citizens engage with the government in a meaningful way in that citizen experience. What we've seen is an increase in personalization on the citizen experience side from government agencies to citizens. We've seen advancements in AI combined with behavioral insights to drive transparency and trust. We've seen an advancement in digital reality and ambient and spatial computing to drive what we think will be the next social media that's out there, which would be the gaming community. We see the leveraging of next-gen networks like 5G and satellite to reach more people. We think that combination of things is going to be a critically important aspect for how government moves forward.
So Mike talked about the trends of kind of looking outward and supporting our citizens. And I'm going to talk about the next trend, which is really focused inward because we have an increasingly competitive global environment. And that means that the government itself has to really adapt and innovate very quickly in order to keep up with some of our closest competitors and our near peer adversaries. And so some of the things that we see happening as a result of that trend are one, just an adaptation of policies that the government can use to really expedite bringing in commercially available technology into the government market. So streamlining procurement and acquisitions, standing up innovation programs, and really focusing on research and development is one trend in an area where we see a lot of policy changes occurring. And then, continuing to focus on the development of accelerators and challenge cups and engaging with a lot of the private sector, like the venture capital community, folks like Dcode and some of the other catalyst communities in the commercial sector that Deloitte has stood up as well. So that trend's going to continue. And so I think we'll continue to see more policies evolving and more education to the existing workforce and the incoming workforce on how to take advantage of those policies and capabilities that we have at our disposal.
So I think one of the keys to success in how innovation works in the government is for the emerging technology organizations to think about the ways they want to and need to engage with the government. And what we advise is the people in the industry should be open to what's going on in the government and the types of things and really open their aperture. I think another thing that the pandemic has shown us is that the government innovating around things that really matter really quickly happens. One is be willing to actually be part of the ecosystem and be willing to talk about the mission of these agencies. And the last is to be a little bit patient, because the timeframes in government are a lot different than the timeframes in the commercial sector. And the government focuses solely on mission advancement. So when you think about the technologies that are out there that you're bringing to bear, think less about what your technology does and think more about what your technology can do to advance mission within the government.
Yeah, Mike, that's exactly right. I like to say that the government market is kind of a moat with crocodiles, but a huge castle on the other side. And that patience is critical because private sector technology really can bring so much to the government, especially at this point in time. We know the private sector technology market, you're forced to adapt and stay ahead of competition and constantly innovate. And it's that innovation and that adaptation that the government missions would benefit from greatly and just can't move quite as quickly in the development of their own solutions to keep up. So this is where, one of the things that Dcode focuses on is helping emerging technologies understand how to get past those crocodiles, have the patience, do all the things that Mike's talking about, because the reward is very high, both from a mission perspective, but also financially. But you all can bring the technology and that knowledge and that innovation, and then connect with folks like Deloitte that have the knowledge and insight on the government problems to really help bridge that gap and makes a really powerful team so that it shortens that learning curve for you and it shortens the time to technology for the government. So there's several challenges that the government still faces when they're thinking about innovation. I know I'm supposed to pick one, but maybe I'm going to cheat a little bit and pick two. I think the first is, we have always built our acquisition system around building ships and things that require really detailed requirements. And now technology changes so quickly that one of the biggest adjustments the federal government needs to make first is focusing on outcome-oriented approaches. And that's true for if you're buying something, what is the outcome you need to buy, not what is the technology you need to buy. If you're working on budgeting, if you're a program office, every function inside the government is going to really need to have a mindset shift to focus on outcomes. And that's one of the things that we really focus on in some of the educational courses that Dcode runs. But the second one is really making sure that we don't reinvent the wheel. So as government agencies start on innovation efforts, it's really helpful to pick the head up and look around and see what other groups across the government have already started something similar. So we don't put a lot of effort into building similar things. There's a lot of great knowledge out there that we can tap into, but Mike, I know this is an area that you are very passionate about. So love to hear your thoughts too.
I think the biggest challenge that we still see in innovating within the government is the ability to connect in a meaningful way to the ecosystem of innovation, and then dealing with the contracting activities. Although we've made great strides in this across the government over the last several years, there's still a challenge of actually making that connection. There's a challenge of the roles that people play. There's a challenge of the outcomes that people are looking for. There's a challenge of the timelines of people where they're expecting things to happen. And at Deloitte and Deloitte Catalyst, we like to say we want to take the isolation out of innovation and really drive towards communities working together to make things happen.
We're seeing a lot of changing trends when it comes to civil servants and the workforce that currently exist in the government. And I think innovation has had a huge impact on that. So, some of the expectations of the workforce that are coming in and engaging in this new type of civil servant are very different. So I think there has to be a culture shift because a lot of the workforce will now show up to work and expect to have some of the latest and greatest tools.
I think, Megan, also added to that is the advancement of certain technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotic processes that have actually augmented how our workforce creates things. And the combination of our workforce and these new technologies will become the future of how people operate, whether that's virtually in an office or working, across the country.
So I know a lot of this seems daunting, but there's a lot of great resources out there to really start thinking about this workforce engagement and workforce transition challenge that we just talked about. So, Dcode, for example, has been offering courses to really focus on that innovation mindset shift, both for incoming workforce and for the existing workforce that is there, to help them understand how to tap into that knowledge and all those ideas that they already have and apply that to the mission. And I think when you start training efforts like that, you can attract more talent and you can also keep the talent. And both of those things are going to be critical. So it's not just about tech, but it's also about preparing the workforce.
Yeah, and in addition, Megan, at Deloitte, one of the reasons we launched Deloitte Catalyst was to actually help the workforce in the federal government be better connected to the community and the ecosystem of emerging tech, and then helping those clients to implement that technology and make that technology real for the workforce to take advantage of.
Dcode has had a long-standing relationship with Deloitte because it is so powerful and so impactful for both the technology companies that are coming into this market and for the government that's looking to move forward and innovate. From the Dcode side, we have built our whole company around de-risking the government market for technology companies so that it's easier and faster to get to market. You're able to come in and stay and really capitalize on the great economic opportunity that the government market is. But from the government side, we're able to provide the reverse of that, which is help government understand how to connect and engage with technology companies in navigating your own bureaucracy so that organizations can move forward. And we've had a lot of success in doing that. So we've identified over 200 different emerging technology implementations that have come into the government that shows that it really can work. And I'd be remiss without saying that those implementations don't happen without someone like a Deloitte that comes in, has the knowledge of the customer, can understand how to implement and really integrate those solutions into the environments. And that's where this partnership is so powerful. Deloitte has the context and the knowledge. we can have the technologies and really make sure that they are ready to go to market and a great partner both for the government and for Deloitte. And then together, that combination can move forward.
Thanks, Megan. And in addition, talking a little bit about our Deloitte Catalyst, which is an augmented component of how Deloitte helps our clients to be successful. Our Deloitte Catalyst organization is both conveners of the ecosystem and bringing people together, bringing emerging tech together with our government based on their missions and needs, and the solution developers and creators of solutions for government clients. And the combination of those things allows us to incubate solutions, to scan and scout capabilities that are out there in the marketplace. The scanning and scouting is enhanced by the cohorts of companies that have been through the Dcode program that are actually trained and developed to work with government entities and bring the ecosystem closer to the government business. And that allows us to drive our clients' missions across the board to success in the innovation landscape.